rānei, nau mai, here mai whakatau mai rā, i rungi ngā manaakitanga o Te Atua, whakatau mai rā, i rungi te ākuatanga o tēnei mea karangatia nei te aroha, here mai. Ono rā whatāku i te rānei, e kōrero mo tēnei mea te Tatai Ahorangi Maui astronomy, te matariki māramataka. Just on behalf of the exhibition here, Hinga and the boys, everyone that's turned up here, just welcome once, welcome twice, welcome thrice. And we won't muck around too long. There's plenty to talk about, you know, how grand is this, is the space, you know, we can go forever when we're looking up at the stars. But I'm going to sit back down and get straight into it. To my right here, we're lucky enough to have my friend that sailed with me. He's also a navigator, and he was lucky to learn the tricks of the trade in terms of Māori astronomy with a tohu by the name of Jack Thatcher. So Kawa, no mai here mai, whakatau mai rā, mai o pukinga ki mai uni a tātou, e mihi tēnei ki a koe, ana mātou ki te whiwhi. So I suppose before we start, does anyone have any questions about astronomy or Māori astronomy or Matariki and all the sort of jazz that we're talking about today? Just for all.
No.
Pardon me?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment, eh? But I suppose I'll just sit down and we'll talk about Matariki, and it's why are we celebrating Matariki? The first thing that Matariki represents Te Tohu Māori, the celebration of the Māori New Year. Also, it can mean lots and lots of things. Hori kapi te koha. That's better. Matariki can mean lots of things, but at this very time, it's actually a time for everyone to gather and appreciate each other's company, to remember the year that was, and start planning for the year that's ahead, make acknowledgement to those that have passed in this year, and let them rest up into the stars and head in the right direction into the future. That's what it's really about, because it's a time of you know, the climate's quite cold and there's not really much you can do on the windy and wet days. So it's about this time of the year, the store with all the kumara, you know, all that stuff, you know, we start helping ourselves to those stores. And yeah, just get together and have a big hui in a whanaumatanga. You know, we start to embrace maroha and all those things. But as navigators, my personal background is in horticulture and celestial navigation. So with celestial navigation, it's about understanding nature. It's about understanding how all the heavenly bodies move up in the sky. It's about listening to the wind. It's actually about a lot to do with listening, you know, and identifying tohu and how we use those tohu to move in a certain direction. And, so what's happening now coming back to Matariki, and we're looking at it as a navigator side point of view. So what happens with Matariki, it will travel through the night sky, which 10.5 months. It rises as it's risen now, and it will take about 10.5 months, also 11 months, to make its whole journey until it descends back into the ocean. And then as it descends, it goes around like this again, and then it pops up. It pops up at this particular time of the year, which we acknowledge it's Matariki. Rewa ki te pai, where it's come up above the horizon to signify that, yes, it's that time of the year again. It's cold, it's Matariki. Let's get on with You come, let's get together, let's celebrate. And so my mate's going to go into a little bit more detail on how navigation works, but I'm just going to sort of start us off. I want to use this as a waka. We'll say north is pointing that way. So if north is pointing that way, you know, Matariki rises over here. And it'll take its whole journey, 10, 11 months or so, and then it goes underneath the water. And then it'll pop up again right there. So now that it's popped up, we have other stars like Orion's belt and stuff popping up at the same time. It's actually those eastern stars and constellations that are the main constellations you use while navigating. Heoi, any Tātai, any questions? No, keep going there. But before I go into it in a bit more depth, I think we just get straight into it about how the heavens work and all of that stuff. I'm going to pass it on to my man Kawa, and he can show you guys how the gods work.
Just in terms of this kaupapa called Te Kawa Maui, I'll probably start it off with Maui, so you know, we all understand who Maui is, eh? So there's a few stories about Maui. One of them was how we went to see his grandmother, Mātauranga Whenua, to get her jawbone to fish in a hook out of it to fish up New Zealand, or Aotearoa. Well, in terms of the old wānanga, they're broken into two halves called Te Kauwairunga and Te Kauwairaro, or Te Kauwai meaning the jaw, so the upper jaw and the lower jaw. So in the children's story, they say he went to see his grandmother, she ripped out her jawbone, and then he carved the hook out of her jawbone to fish up the sea, or fish up New Zealand out of the sea. Well, if you look into the deeper kōrero of that story, that pūrako, what it's actually saying is he went there and sat down with his grandmother, and she gave him the knowledge from her, from her mouth, from her kaua, spoke to him how to fish up New Zealand. And so with Te Mātauranga Maui, Maui's fish hook, which they also call Scorpius, the constellation Scorpion. Well, that was his tohu, that was his hook that he fished up New Zealand with. So Scorpio is our zenith star, the zenith star of New Zealand, which means it's the star that pretty much ends up right above us when it's at its zenith, or its highest point at our latitude. So if you go to Fiji or Tahiti or something, their zenith star will be Sirius or Takuru, because they're on a different latitude to us. We're like on latitude 1, so we're on latitude like 30 something. I know it's my latitude in Brisbane is 30 something, but so when he came here, when he fished up New Zealand, he followed Te Mātauranga Maui, and then it started, you know, the closer he got to the latitude, the higher it started rising, and then, you know, it kind of fished up New Zealand out of the ocean. And so that's one story of Maui, bringing it back into the kaupapa. Another one is, so they're all navigation stories, eh? If you look at it in the deeper point of view. The other one is how we slowed down the sun. There was the other part of the, half of that jaw he made the hook out of, and half of it he made a patu to beat up the sun. Well, in terms of the navigation, that's another story of how he realised the sun was slowing down through different times of the year. So see, we've got this star compass. This is the star compass, or the Kapehu Whetu. this is what's inside the navigator's mind. You know, it's not a real compass that you look and go like this. So the whole world is the compass. Everything that you can see around you on this horizontal plane. And so we've got Whitinga here, which is the east. Then you've got Ra, which means the sun. Then you've got Kaina, which means home, or so this is the house of the sun. This is Maui. Actually, we were talking about Maui and the sun, so we'll just go about these ones for now. So this is direct east, and Tomokanga is direct west. So in the times of spring and autumn, the sun will rise here in direct east, and then it will set in direct west. It will rise in direct east and it will set in direct west. In the times of the winter, it makes its way over to Kaina Tokere, and then it will set in Kaina Whakararu. See, then it comes back to spring, that's autumn, winter, spring, and it starts making its way back to summer, into this Kaina Marangai. Then it will rise and set in Kaina Whakarunga. So you can see here that in these winter times, when it rises from this Kaina, it only goes this far before it sets, which means a shorter day and a longer night. See, then you've got the autumn and autumn equinox and the spring equinox, which is, pretty much bang on the east and the thing, in the west. And when it's in summer, it rises in this Kaina, see, and it goes all the way around here and then sets in this Kaina, which gives us the longer days and the shorter nights, the daylight saving and all that kōrero. And this is Maui's understanding of when he realised that the sun was slowing down and speeding up. Because and so it's real good tohu for us using the sun when we're out there navigating, knowing that what time of the season you're leaving in and where the sun's rising and setting. It'll take you to these, you can use it to your advantage. So these are the kainas here. So as you can see, there's two kainas. So there's kaina in the winter. This is when he's with his with the maiden of the winter, Hine Takurua. So he has two wives, Hine Takurua and Hine Raumati, the maiden of the winter and the maiden of the summer. And he just goes back and forth throughout the year.
Lucky for some.
Yeah. So now we have, I'm going to carry on explaining some of these names. So now we've got Maui, which is basically a bird. It's the brown noddy. So when you're out in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of nowhere where you can't see land, you can use, there's a lot of tohus for you or signs that you can use, and one of them, other than the sun, being the main one, the birds. So this bird is actually a land bird, but it can fly all the way out to sea, and it'll get some fish, fill its mouth up with fish, and then go back to land. So, if you're really in the ship and you don't know where you're going and you see that, and then you can just follow that one straight back to land. And so now it takes us to Manu. So this is Manu, or what they call, northeast. All of that, that's like the 45-degree mark. So this is Manu. This just talks about the waka flying across the ocean like a manu. There's a lot of our old stories that talks about our ancestors flew over on birds. Yeah, so they are likening the bird to the waka to the bird. And so that talks about money. So then we've got Ngārangi, which means Ngārangi is where we get most of our tohu from. So there's about 5 tohus that we use. We use the sun, we use the moon, we use the stars, we use the planets, and we use the clouds. So just a basic one for the moon, you know, when it's like this, we can make a line from here to there, to the bottom of the one point to the other point of the horns, and then you follow it down, and it'll take you to north. If you just make a thing like that, and you just go like that, or whatever angle it's on, it'll always take you back to north. And that's just one of the tohu. The other one is there's a full moon one. So when it's in the full moon, it's always going to be opposite the sun. So when the sun sets, so say it's full moon in the autumn equinox. So when the sun sets here, the moon will rise over here. So you know you've got a lot of good tohu to go on. So the other one, the clouds, you know, you can use the clouds for reading different weather patterns that are coming. Got squalls in it, you can dodge them, you can see them in the distance. So ngā reo is when it's all covered up black, you know, you're in the middle of a storm and you can't really see much. This is when you've got to listen to the voices. Ngā reo, listen to the voices of nature, which is two of them, the swells and the winds. See, you've got things like these hanging up on the waka, things like these, and then they'll blow in the wind. So you know, so we want to try and keep it blowing. See, we're going this way, the wind's coming that way, so we want to blow it that way. When it starts going like that, you know, we've turned around too much, so we want to try and keep it in this general direction. That's what we use when we can't use a star to navigate. See, actually, these diamond things up here, that's pretty mean too. You can imagine those as being stars, and so you want to try and keep that star over there. You know, and that one there, that one there. When they're over there, you know, you're definitely going the wrong way. But they will eventually go there because that's part of the cycle. So once those ones move, you've got to understand which ones are going to come next in the pattern. So that's ngā reo. And then that's haka when, you know, when it's all black and you can't really see much tohus. That's when the challenge begins. And so this whole compass is broken down into quarters. So every one of these whares is where the stars rise on this half, and then they set on this half. So if Mātauranga rises in kainga tokere, it'll set in kainga whakararo. So if tauturu rise in whitinga, you know, and set in tomokanga or Orion's belt, and you know this is how we memorise where they're going to rise and set. And it's broken into 4 quarters, just to make it simple, because you see they're all the same names all the way around. There's 32 of them. We didn't want to give them their own individual names, or else, you know, it'll be too hard for anyone to remember. So what you do there is, what they've done there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them in between the 4 cardinal points. So you know, the navigator, someone, the tohu might go, oh, where's Mātauranga rising? Oh, in kainga. And then the fellow will say, oh, in kainga. And then they go, oh, what's kainga? There's 4 of them. They go, oh, kainga tokere. Oh, yeah, well, what's our heading? Ngārangi. Oh, which ngārangi? There's 4 of them. Oh, ngārangi, marangai. So you've got tokere, whakararo, whakarunga, and marangai. And those are basically named after the 4 winds. In terms of the maps and all that, every whare is 11.25 degrees. And that's 11.25, 11.25, 22 or something like that. Ends up to 45 here. And they're all that much apart. So on the navigator's head, he's got it calibrated to one of those being 11.25 degrees. So from the thumb to the end of that finger. So if you actually do that 32 times around, but exactly the same way, how you're holding your arm and how you're standing, you should be able to do it around 32 times. And see, that's one whare, then you've got the 2 whares, which is that to that. And those are just some little techniques that we're being taught, that have been passed down from my hanga or me. And we're lucky to learn and keep teaching it to people so that it keeps alive and everyone's aware that, this is how we did it, how we got here. It wasn't by chance or,
Kia ora. Just to reinforce some of Kawa's story, he made mention about all the Maui narratives, and as navigators of the ocean, we liken most of our stories to our navigation to the pūrākau, to the stories of Maui. So when we're heading towards an island, we refer to it as fishing up the island. The island comes to us, we don't go to the island. So when we're navigating, we liken it to, we're fishing up the islands, just like Maui. So you're already at a point here and the islands come to you. So as the island comes to you, it starts off with a little speck and it starts getting bigger and bigger, then boom, you've caught the fish. So when you're navigating, you throw your line out there, and just like a line and a fishing line that goes like this. So when you're sailing, you're sailing like this, always making known that the line's out there, cast out there like that. So a lot of our pūrākau, our kōrero, especially in Aotearoa, we can't really grasp the real kōrero, some would say, about how we navigate. But the closest you can ever be to being, I suppose, like the old people were in their time, or the old Maori, is actually going out to sea and feeling it, feeling, embracing all the atua like tawhiri and tangaro. What we got to do is, we got to take off our colonised lens and put on our decolonised lens and get out there like the Māoris were back in those days. So that is technology. This particular technology is the same technology that our ancestors used to come from Hawaii to Te Ika Maui. How do I know that? Because we inherited this piece of Mātauranga, this technology from a man by the name of Maui. He lived up in the Caroline Islands, which were south of Guam, on a small little atoll island by the name of Satawan. And it was up there they were still using this technology for survival, for everyday usage. Whereas when we came to Aotearoa, we didn't need to use this particular technology to survive again. We had all these new fruits in the bush, and we had all this abundance out at the ocean. So we ended up becoming land dwellers, some would say. So it's not like we lost this bit of technology. It was all passed down through our old traditions. The difference is that we just started practicing it. So, canoes used to go back and forth, and then all of a sudden the canoes just stayed. And that's when we held on. We still held on to these traditions, we just weren't practicing it. And we didn't start practicing it, or we weren't inspired to practice it again until 1987, when the Hawaiians embraced their culture and they sailed here successfully using non-instruments, navigating here to Te Ika Maui in 1987. In 1987, there was a man by the name of Stan Conrad. He's in the video over there. He was the first Māori sailor since the old times. So he was on board Hokulea, the Hawaiian canoe, when it got to New Zealand, when it got to Te Ika Maui. And from that particular voyage, a man by the name of Hector Busby, he took up the challenge and says, right, said to his chief, Sir James Henry, I'll make a canoe and I'll navigate just like the Hawaiians did. And in 1992, Sir Hector Busby, alongside Stan Conrad, successfully navigated from Maui to Rarotonga. And on board, the very first navigator was a man by the name of Mātauranga Waka, who he gave the Mātauranga to the Hawaiians, who also gave the Mātauranga back to us here in Maui, which we're now teaching it to you guys. And so this Mātauranga, it's not mine, it's not Hector's, it's not everyone else's, it's the same Mātauranga that our tupuna used. So just to reinforce some of the kōrero you were saying before, also looking back on the Maui kōrero, he's talking about the sun and all of that, just to slow down the sun or make the days longer, all you got to do really is travel north towards the equator, and there you'll get almost a 20-hour sun, where it's just going nowhere. And this, for you to sail down to Antarctica or whatever, it's almost like you get full sun for 4 months and then no sun, straight darkness. And it could have been that darkness that Mātauranga was talking about before. All of this is that they sailed south of the latitude. Just thinking about those supposed myths and legends of Maui, they're actually true, Kawa, he just sailed down to see his name. His grandmother gave him the knowledge the navigational knowledge, which is this, to find Te Ikao Maui. Going back to the star compass, I tell the young kids, if they want to inherit superpowers, they come and learn the star compass. So by the time they learn how to use the star compass, you don't actually need this map, it's actually just a resource. You inherit the Mātauranga in the brain, and you can go anywhere in the world knowing where you are. So if you looked up to the heavens, and you were like, oh yeah, I know where I am. Because these stars we don't see here in New Zealand, that they see overseas in the northern hemisphere. Because as we travel north, the southern stars start to descend, just like Mātauranga did a few months back. And as we go north, some of the biggest stars, constellations start to appear upon the horizon, like the Little Dipper and the Big Dipper. If anyone's been overseas, you can see those constellations. And in Hawaii, someone says, how do you get to Alaska? I hope you're not filming this. How do you get to Alaska? And they reckon all you do is you follow the North Star as far as you can until you get a cold bump and turn right and hit Alaska. If you look at the simplicity in that sort of kōrero, anthropologists from all around the world were, sort of exposed during the 80s and 90s, and that's one of the main reasons we teach everyone this particular Mātauranga, is so we can, at the start there, it was about holding on to it tightly, because we wanted to prove all the anthropologists at the time wrong, because they were saying that we floated here, a bird dropped a couple of seeds in the ground and we got here, or something ridiculous like that. But really, we had this huge technology that got us here. So in saying that, I've been around Aotearoa in the world now, telling everyone that really all we're doing here, especially to the Māori kids, is teaching them how awesome their ancestors were. So it's about reinforcing to the tamariki how awesome their tupuna were, that they were successful navigators, they were astronomers, they were horticulturists, they were innovative for the time, when our ancestors were going around the world. The Europeans still thought the world was square, they were going to fall off at the end of the waterfall. you know, some of those sort of kōrero. And you know, they ask Mao, you know, to be cheeky, they ask Mao, you know, how come you guys didn't think the world was square like the Europeans did, you know, way back then? And he had a simple answer. He says, oh well, the moon round, the sun round, the earth must be round. So where I'm getting to is, you know, we all descend from the atua, the greater beings, or whatever you might call them. But as we are, what I try to, you know, tell everyone is that all the atua are there to help us. So the Taiao, the environment, you know, the winds, the land, you know, if you look hard enough, you can utilize that to your full advantage, especially if you want to grow food or if you want to move in a particular direction. You got to use the tohu, you know, it's about understanding the tohu. Maybe that's where that name tohu came from. You knew how to read the tohu. And if you understand how to read the tohu, you know, you can guide yourself and propel yourself anywhere in the world, wherever you want to be. So now getting back to the start kōrero, but I think if, you know, we're just getting the foundations of understanding how this particular star compass works and how Matariki is of relevance today. And Matariki's always been of relevance. You know, it's of relevance all year round. You know, especially up in the summer. So when the sun comes up to Kainga or meets the summer maiden in Hinetakuru, Matariki's at its highest point. And you know, sometimes we can celebrate that, you know, Matariki being at its highest point. And that's to remind everyone that, you know, food and fruits and everything's in abundance. You know, that's the time of year we celebrate and we really enjoy, you know, who we are. You know, the old time Māori used to really enjoy it that much that they used summer for war. That's how much they enjoyed the summer. They couldn't wait to get to summer so they could go to war. But these days, you know, we can celebrate, you know, all the cool things about what summer has to provide. So at the time of summer, you know, we're talking about, at that particular time, we're talking about rehua, Antares. Antares is the red moon at the top of the scorpion, to Mātauranga Maui. So at the top of the Mātauranga Maui, there's a particular star about there, there's a few on the other side of it, that's called Antares. So what happens to the hook all year round, it goes around, but then the top of it goes under the ocean, just like Matariki did. And when that goes underneath the ocean, it pops up, signifying that's the time of there's hundreds of names for Te Mārua, or Te Tau, Mātahi o Te Tau. It's just another beacon that signifies a particular time of the year. Also, what signifies all those other times of the year are all the other stars. You know, Matariki's of relevance, but so is all the other stars. So, you know, our calendar, or Gregorian calendar, you know, the April, May, June, July, you know, we got the Pipiri o Here Tūri Kōkau Mahuru, but Pipiri, for instance, you know, that's a cluster of stars, and that rises at a particular time of the year, signifying the time of Pipiri. Whānui, for instance, another star that rises, it rises right there. Oh no, about there. About 39 degrees-ish. But we'll just say it rises in the house of Manu. And that signifies another time of the year. So that's coming into about their summertime, just after Lihu. Those stars start coming up, signifying particular times of the year. So when you're navigating, or when you're being taught to navigate, our teacher teaches us to memorize at least 60 stars. But you got to memorize the star, you got to memorize the house that rises, the house that descends into. And I think we got it hard these days because we got to learn it about 3 times. You know, not only do we have to learn it the Māori way, we got to learn it the European way as well, or Roman way, or whatever it was. Yeah, they got to learn all the English words to it, or Roman words, or whatever they were. But yeah, any questions?
It's all clear.
The 4 winds.
Yeah.
So are they relevant to the Pacific? They're just like different times.
Are they just relevant winds? I think just put into those positions just to distinguish which quadrant they're in.
Right.
But they are names of winds. So you got the Tokero wind, which is the predominant northeaster wind.
Yeah, because I noticed there are predominant winds, the northwest, east to west, strong east and strong south.
So
Anyway,
yeah, so at the moment we're getting the prevailing winds are starting to come into and at the moment, which the majority of the winds we're going to get are southwests. The majority, not all the winds, the majority, because our sun's not moving as often, you see. And when the sun speeds across the horizon, it causes a lot of disruptions and just the flow of the whole synergy of everything, you know. It's a bit of 4 seasons in one day sort of a time. Spring and autumn. Too much boot you off?
Yeah, thank you, brother. Yeah, we really can't take care of Kora or Pukinga or Mātauranga. Yeah, it's my time to be with me here.
Kia ora. Yeah, so that's what we'll do. Quadrant, whakarongo, the quadrant of the south, quadrant of the above. Marangai represents quite a lot of things, but Marangai is on this side of the thing because it's the east side. You know, we say Marangai is usually, rain, but also making reference to the sun. Marangai meaning storms. Storms always come from the east, sort of, but they're northeaster here in New Zealand. Anything with the E in it. Anything with the E in it, you'll bug it, yeah, so this is a brief understanding of how our tupuna successfully navigated from Hawaii to Te Kawa. And the good thing about it, we're still practicing it today, and still understanding all the stars. Tīra.
so Maui slowing the sun as well, and I guess the Purako of New Zealand, is that, would that be then on Maui travelling here during the summer months to increase the length of day, you know, because you have the longer daylight hours for all that.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. You know, we make reference to that. All you got to do to change the performance of the sun is we'll go northern latitude or southern latitude. See, you know, at the moment, Takirangi was talking about how it arcs around like this, the sun. Well, the further south you go, the sun starts going like this. It doesn't set, it just goes like this, like the Southern Cross. So here in Aotearoa, if you look to the south, you watch the Southern Cross, it'll go like this all night long. And it goes like that because it's on the axis of where our world spins. So when you put it on the axis and go like this, that's how we perceive the night sky. So as you go to the equator, the south celestial pole starts to be like this. and if the southern cross goes underneath the water. And then the other stars we can't see, and the North Star coming up out of the ocean. And all of a sudden, if you're up in 35 degrees north, what's that? That's Europe. You know, you're looking at Polaris, the North Star. We can't see the North Star here. The Big Dipper, Little Dipper, all those stars. You know, we can't see them here, but what we can see is the Southern Cross going around in circles. And if we can see the Southern Cross, we can see the South Celestial Pole. And if we find the South Celestial Pole, we can come down to the horizon, and that's true south. So once we know one bearing, we should at least know 1, 2, 3 bearings, like Tutuni. And then we find another star in the sky, like Orion's belt. You grab it, and that's true east. If you ever see this Orion's belt coming up out of the horizon, you bring it back down to the horizon, and you've got true east. And now that you know where true east is, you can do all sorts of things. So, you know, for saying, you know, you got east that way, you can put your foot to flame, make it 90 degrees, and you got north. So you got all those things. So that's how you sort of use nature, and you use the stars, or the atua, as I call them, to help you to propel in a direction. You use them to help you propel the gardens. You use it to, well now it's all trending in health now. You use it to propel your well-being forward. You know, understanding some of the energy sort of system when the moon's closer and the moon's too far back. You know, you can see the changes in the weather when the moon's closer to the earth and when the moon's not so close to the earth. You can see, you know, the tides rise up a bit bigger, you know, especially in the full moon. That's all going on. All right? Hi to Tony. I know it's hard to digest in one evening, one sitting, 1 hour sitting, but I can go. So what's cool about this too, what's cool about this particular technology too is as an apprentice navigator, you got to learn all of these things. You got to learn how it all works. You got to watch. It takes about 2 years till you can finally sort of sort it out, because you need at least 2 years of observations to really understand how it really works. So when you're sailing out on the ocean, you're with the gods Tawhiri and Tangaroa. You guys all know Tawhiri and Tangaroa. So Tawhiri and later brother. So Tawhiri and Tangaroa, they're quite gnarly gods. So Tawhiri, you know, he's in between everyone. He got a bit upset with his big brother, so he's in there, quite a violent sort of Māori. So you got Tangaroa, who's quite passive but can be violent too. But when you got those two working together, you know, it causes all this commotion. So when you're out on the ocean and you're navigating to a particular place, you're in the realm of Tawhiri and Tangaroa. And when the realm of Tawhiri and Tangaroa, there's generally no in between. So, you know, you've got all those romanticised notions of kupe. You know, everyone thinks sailing's like going out there with a boatload of beautiful women, you know, a chef, a pina colada. That's a load of rubbish. There's sort of no in between. So it's either too rough, too wet, too cold, too hot, no wind, boredom, too rough, too windy, waves are too big, there's no waves anymore, you know, there's no in between, it's just rah, the whole way. So when you're sort of sailing under those conditions, you know, your tinana and your wairu start adopting some of those traits. So, you know, you sort of start not caring about, you know, a lot after that. it's sort of like, you sort of embrace those atua. But when you're also embracing those atua, you've got to remember you're trying to get to a place of a particular direction. So in our case, we've got Rangi Nui, who's quite ngāwari, and you've got Uru Te Nganganga. Uru Te Nganganga, who's the god of the stars. So they're quite ngāwari, so that gives you a bit of hope, you know, when you're out there. So when you're following the stars, you know, you're using this information, you're using it to help you. That's what I tell everyone now. You use all this information, you use the information of the gods, and you observe, and you let the gods help you. So where I'm getting at now is because I had a foundation in celestial navigation and navigating on the oceans, I was propelled in a different arena. So I had to go and do horticulture. So being in the realm of Romo now, Homie and Tiki Tiki, you know, they're quite ngāwari gods, eh? But they also can teach you a lesson. But you know, you can use the same, the foundations of this to amplify your knowledge in horticulture and in horticulture and agriculture. Why? Because you're still out there in the elements underneath the eyes of the gods. So when you're using it in horticulture, you got to understand the god Rongo. You know, good thing about Rongo, he teaches you patience and peace. So you know, you've gone from such a destructive, foundation, all of a sudden into a house of peace. And you know, once you can, by understanding how the gods work in this arena, you can use the gods in your favour when you're in the realm of Rongo in the gardens. So the good thing about being out on the ocean, you understand how the moon cycle works. And when you understand how the moon cycle works, you can use those atua to help you get the best out of the trees. So if you watch closely, and if you're planting and doing everything, if you watch closely, you can see the trees dancing in the moon. It goes like this. That's how they do, all the trees. The leaves go up and they open up like this, and then they go down as the moon comes down. It's sort of like a dance, if you observe close enough. So as the full moon comes, the pakiaka of the trees go like this. And as the full moon goes, they go like this. So, you know, if you watch nature, you'll see them embracing the atuas as well. We all need them. There are others, but we still want to keep going. But feel free to fire some questions.
No, it's really clear. That's going to explain the sun movements and everything.
Yeah. So gardening, so in terms of your diving, you know, in terms of your diving, you know, over here, this room, this is Firo. That's Rākau Nui. You know, they all say the Tangaroa phase all the way through to probably Ahorangi Nui is a good time to fish and dive. So what you got here? You got Te Mātauranga, Kore 1, 2, 3, about here. This moon, talk about this moon, is good for diving. This moon over here also is good for diving, these two. Over here is okay. It's sort of like just around of tamati and tapi. Yeah, that's a good time. It's like those gods, you know, you don't know what you're going to get. You might be a good day, it might not be a good day. Full moon, you know, you watch all the animals, you know, they all react to the full moon. So even koala, you know, when they're doing the eggs and stuff, they all jump onto the top of the rock and release all of that. But, you know, that particular time from there to there for fishing, about another 3 or 4 at that time, and another 3 or 4 at this time. So why, you know, the Mātauranga Waka, after all my observations, so my whakaaro and all of this has actually come from lived experience. So I'm no mātauranga or, you know, go to the nitty-gritty of the pūrākau. All I know through my observations, I can understand how the Taiao works and how we can utilise the atua for your advantage. So, and all those times you two for diving and hunting, because there's other times it rains, eh? So why are they, so really if you understand the moon, and it's about understanding when it rains, when the rain comes. So the moon's the rain. So everyone, you know, and all those Mātauranga Waka sort of calendars and stuff, they say, oh, that's a good day for planting, that's a good day for fishing. But we don't sort of necessarily understand why. The reason why those are good days is because, especially the planting days, especially around here, Otani and Ahorangi, those are sort of those musky days, eh? It's sort of where it's grey, it doesn't rain, but you can feel something's going to come in. So, Otani for everything, it's actually everything's quite mild then. But on Ahorangi, the night of Ahorangi, it's going to piss down. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that. So it's going to rain there. And why they say those are good times for it to plant is because they understand the rain's coming. So when you plant food, you want to make sure it drenches down the very next day. And you want it to be sunny the next day after that. So fiddle, in this particular moon, the sun normally comes up and it's going bang. Usually, not all the time, but usually. Oh, Kawa.
It's 21st century.
So, and by understanding the movement of the sun, and they understand cultivation and fruit and food, you know, you can get a head start up on everyone because you understand when the wind and the rain comes.
I heard with the clouds covering matariki, depending on what star is covered or seen, determines what you harvest for the year. Is that?
Well, some people give premonitions by looking at matariki, eh? You know, there was an old trait that the real top tohu I could understand that one. I actually find it quite hard to see anyone sort of understand how that happens. To this day, I don't know how they do. They all say, oh no, that star shone a bit brighter than this star. I'm like, oh yeah? You know, can you see that far? But I believe, though, the real true gardeners and the people who live that way could read that particular star. So when you're reading that star, why they have it in the tangaroa phase is because if you ever look, the last 3 or 4 days have been good days, eh? And so when you wake up in the morning, there's no cloud. But straight after this tangaroa phase coming into mutu whenua, it's going to be rough. So if you can wake up in the morning now, I should do it tomorrow morning, is go and observe the star in the morning. So if you can, you know, some people are that good at it that they can determine what the year's going to look like. But also, you know, if you got that premonition, you still have to utilise this sort of Mātauranga, otherwise that premonition becomes useless. So every time, this time of the year, bro, Matariki is hard to see because it's the middle of winter, it's a horrible time. But if If you wait till a few months later, you'll see it all year round. You'll see it next to Taurus all year round. Taurus. Tautori, Puanga, Taurus, what's that other one? Puanga. Yeah.
So Puanga is just is above or below.
Oh, it's above Matariki, comes out a bit earlier.
Above Rosebud, oh yeah.
Yeah, he comes out earlier too,
Yeah.
second Friday. Because those people in Taranaki can't see anything from the east end.
Yeah.
So when Puanga comes over Taranaki, that's their time.
What's the star below Rosebud? What's that one?
Let's call it Aldebaran, what's the more funny? Butter juice. Putara.
Oh, Puta, yeah.
The English one.
The red star, yeah.
And then you got Taurus, of course, and then Matariki.
Yeah. 3, and then.
Well, depending where you're from, the name changes.
Yeah.
So the name we got taught was Putara, but other roe or iwi might call it another name. Yeah.
And then there's I always just call it the Christmas
that's
tree.
Taurus. That's,
Taurus.
Oh, that's Taurus.
That's
The
Taurus.
one.
Te
And that's
Kōwaka.
then Matariki, yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
Or that line, eh?
Yeah. From those.
Orion's belt to the, what you call the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
All the way through the Matariki.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No lot of a copy to the one.
So, yeah.
I'll say, what was it?
And then what was it? You got Sirius. So from the 3 points of
So
Sirius.
it's on the right side.
Yeah.
You'll see 5 other stars next to it, you see it right past.
You got Sirius.
Yes,
You got
yes.
Canopus.
It's the brightest one, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brightest star in the sky.
Yeah.
And from there you got Canopus is the lonely star outside the Milky Way. From there you got some stars coming back to the side.
To the south.
And you got yeah.
So where does Scorpio or the hook sit from this?
It sits opposite
So the cross.
Taituri.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh, yeah.
it'll be the opposite. So
Okay.
every time Scorpion's temple to Mātauranga is rising,
Yeah.
Taituri will be setting, and then the other way around. Yeah, they're always going to be opposite each other. Coming. Any more questions?
No, it's all clear. That's great.
Well, thank you so for coming. Yeah, thank you for having me here too, bro.
I wanted to see if you remember.
Yeah, just before we close off, just sort of will affect me to the kaupapa, but also to the wānanga that we come from, that taught us all this Mātauranga. Māori te kura waka, te aurere. Yeah, for those kaupapas, we probably wouldn't even be here sharing this stuff with
Kia ora.
you. Yeah, we've got to acknowledge all our teachers, our many teachers and matuas and caucus, fires, brothers, sisters, Yo anō, aku e whakakapi a tēnei wā. Ka tātou katoa, te ata whai o tō tātou ariki a Ukraiti. Me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga tautanga ki te wairua tō. Aki, prōri ki te wairua tātou.
Kia ora tātou. Hope that was all right there, Chief.
Yes.
Well, what do you put Chief with you?
Yeah.
Well, good see you. Enjoy that, hopefully.
Cheers. Yeah. So good, I love seeing it in this perspective because the way that I learn it and have done it is all from the European way of learning it. So it's cool to see this pūrākau that you hear, you know, like some of the Maui flowing in the sun and stuff actually has a real world application.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck, I didn't see that.
Definitely.
It's so cool. So, it's just remember being told that